True. Let's go to Karma Green, we steady on the rise. Digging truth from ancient scenes, we open blinded eyes. Rhyme sharp like pirate lines, we break the bondage tight. Kamji speaking revolution, keep the fire burning. Chill drums guide our stride, we march with purpose proud. No more silence, we collide, our voices thunder loud. Politics and history, we stitch them in every verse. From Pharaoh's throne to Yaoundé streets, we claim the Kamji verse.
So I want to take this time to respond to a comment about my recent metallurgical video. Basically, repeating some common themes that some of the opponents of Africana studies have, particularly classical Africana studies. Now, in my video, we've spoken ad nauseum on this channel about the links between, Pharaonic Africa and Inner Africa, primarily, through the lens of historical comparative linguistics, Paleo Afrikan, what is also called Niger Egyptian or Egypto-African in certain phrasings, being basically parallel to Indo-European configuration in the sense of regular sound correspondences between the civilizations. And if we follow, the Ethiopian migration model, you can see the Kansiore culture in the Great Lakes region, representing the pre-dialectical ancestor of these populations. These would be populations that Shamarka Keita would classify as Saharo-Nilotic, using that configuration. And when we look at the metallurgical traditions on the African continent, whether it's the Egazarian tradition, in Niger, whether it's the Akjuchtian tradition, primarily centered with copper in Mauritania. And this is a tradition that, Vivanco and others at the University of Veracruz have associated with transoceanic migration because they see metallurgical similarities between, this Akjuchtian culture in Mauritania and Western Africa and what they find in the pre-Columbian context in Mexico. Or it's the Herero Senegambian tradition, under Augustine Hole's analysis, right? You can see that these metallurgical traditions on the African continent are related. And one of the commonalities that we see is referring to iron as metal from the sky that you see in Ba and Pet within classical Kemet. You see iron working associated with state formalities, whether it's the guilds in the East and Western African context, or it's the iron worker as the leader, right? Especially within the Central and Southern African context, the so-called Bantu context, right? You can see iron working associated with state formalities. And you also see gestational themes, maternal gestational themes within the fabrication process across these regions. So if we look at the analysis of West African scholars, it's West African scholars like Sheikh Anta Diop who he played a leading role in showing the inner African roots of ironworking. And this connection of this to Pharaonic Africa is not to diminish, Western African populations or civilizations or cultures. It's actually to show the inner African roots of Kemet, right? The fact that most of their iron that wasn't meteoric came from the Egazarian plain in Niger. So it was West Africans like Sheikh Anta Diop and the student Hamadi Boucoum who actually exposed that ironworking in Africa, metallurgy in Africa is actually not from Eurasia. It's actually Siderolithic, meaning that most African populations went directly from stone to metal. Whether we're dealing with the meteoric traditions, right, in the Happy River Basin, right, especially classical Kemet, or we're dealing with many of these West African and Central African populations who went directly from stone, into iron, and they didn't necessarily need a copper intermediary, right? Though you did have that in Mauritania, that wasn't ubiquitous, on the African continent. So these West African scholars were the ones who exposed this, and they actually used, this data to unify the African continent, as opposed to putting West Africans over here, East Africans over there, Central and Southern Africans over there. They find commonalities that we could reconstruct, right? A scholar by the name of Deme, right, El-Haj Deme, right, he actually exposed how many of the different traditions, whether you're talking about the Ahmed Dioha of the Igbo, Shango, and the Goon traditions of the Yoruba, as well as Ta, right, and classical Kemet bear similarities, even if you're talking about some of the vocabulary, used for force like tak and tak that you see, from the Fulanis, right, to the various Mande speaking populations and beyond. You can see ta being related to a lot of these terms that you find in Western Africa, whether it comes to forge or smelting or iron metallurgy or metallurgy in general. There is a historical linguistic root that connects these polities. So, the position of Afrikaner scholars, the West African scholars who were, predominant and primary in terms of exposing the inter-African roots of metallurgy, is to unify the African continent. So when we look at iron metallurgy and metallurgy in particular, the tribalists actually take an L on this topic. And even if you look at the chronology, right, these are African iron metallurgy from the 3rd millennium to the 5th century BCE. You see, commonalities with respect to the chronology, right? You have Agaro, right, in eastern Niger, with an early date of about 2900, before the Common Era of iron metallurgical use. Coterminous with this is you have Giza in ancient Kimi from Cheikh Anta Diop's analysis in 1973, and you also have Abju, which is 2345, right? So you can see, in the 3rd millennia BC, commonalities from the Happy River Basin into Western Africa. And then in the 2nd millennia BC, you see Buhan in so-called Nubia, right, about 1991, Termit in eastern Niger, 1870, Thebes, right, in the 18th and 19th dynasty, or the 14th century, before the Common Era, before Christ. Then you have Mubuga in Burundi, 1230, Kataruka in Tanzania, 1470, and then Oliga in Cameroon, 1300. So in the 2nd millennia BC, you see it from the Happy River Basin to Burundi and Tanzania to Cameroon and Oliga. In the 10th century, you obviously see in Nok civilization in Nigeria. And we went over some of the numerous commonalities with the research of Frederick John Lamp about how a lot of the material culture in the Nok civilization mirrors that you find in the Pharaonic civilization. And that could be, hypothetically from, a proto-Saharan ancestor, but more likely it's because they come from the same root, that same Kansiore root in the Great Lakes region. Then you have 9th century BC, Oliga, Cameroon as well. You have Taruga, Nigeria, in that same vein. You have Gabiri in Central African Republic, right? Then you have the 8th century Napata, Sudan, coterminous with Tajidit in Niger. 7th century, Carthage, obviously, coterminous with Otumbi in Gabon. And in the 6th century BC, you see it in Meroe. So again, when you look at the chronology of these dates, the position of African scholars is not to show like, East Africa before West Africa, West Africa before East Africa, and use it as kind of a tension, like of a scholastic tension, but it is to show the unity among these Paleo African populations, these Egypto-African populations, if you will. And in the unity that they have coming from a common root as the explanation for these commonalities that you see across the continent. And again, metallurgy, iron metallurgy is actually more advanced, especially within the medieval context in Africa. They had some of the most advanced metallurgical traditions in the world. So this is something that you see, across Africa. And this is also something that shows you that, if the right conditions were met, you would actually see an advanced period of industrialization on the continent, right? That could even have rivaled that which you saw in terms of the mechanization of European cultures. So this is just an example, just to respond to the commentary, like, no, I'm not trying to promote a Eurasian context. It's actually the opposite, by showing, some of the Western African roots of a lot of the metallurgical traditions that we find, and just the inter-African roots in general, right? They're actually promoting, Afrikaner scholars are actually promoting an inter-African origin of the Happy River Basin, right? This is really, really clear with the data. And it's pretty easy to see for anybody who's paying attention and reading. So that's all I got for y'all on this. Hope to catch y'all on the next one. Peace.
True, let's go to Karma Green, we steady on the rise. Digging truth from ancient scenes, we open blinded eyes. Rhyme sharp like pirates' lines, we break the bondage tight. Kamji speaking revolution, keep the fire burning. Big drums guide our stride, we march with purpose proud. No more silence, we collide, our voices thunder loud. Politics and history, we stitch them in every verse. From Pharaoh's throne to Yaoundé streets, we claim the Kamji verse.